What I'm about to say is the truth. It will sound like opinion. The younger the crowd is in any sport, the louder the crowd is. Why? Well, young crowds, more testosterone, no kids often, not married. They spend their money on sports. They're loud. You want to have tickets that young people can afford. But there is a city in the country that has lots and lots of rich young people. I'm reading it here. The U.S. city with the most millennials earning the most money, number 1 is San Francisco, and number 2 is neighboring Oakland. And they are all Warrior fans. That is the loudest arena in the NBA, and it's not close. No fan base feeds off its team, and no team feeds off its fan base. What about Phoenix? Phoenix's home and road record's the same. They're great everywhere. Because of all the money in tech, the Warriors have the youngest, most rabid fan base. You want young fans. Old Yankee Stadium, younger crowd, wildly raucous. Then they rebuilt it, charged more for tickets. That made the crowd older and more affluent. The stadium got quieter. I saw this at the University of Oregon. Autzen Stadium was a crazy place. Then they rebuilt it, charged more for tickets, priced out a lot of the young people. But San Francisco and Oakland is where young people make millions of dollars and buy seats on the floor. By the way, third is New York. It's why Madison Square Garden is so loud. You want young crowds, and what you saw last night, it was palpable on television. The Nuggets had the size, but they shrank. They became the McNuggets. The crowd, they have led after the first quarter in both games and then evaporated. You could see the seams, the tears, the fabric coming apart, and the crowd has a ton to do with it. I mean, Steph is great. When he played this year, they had the best record at home. And we don't give fans a lot of credit for stuff. We think it's just about athletes, but basketball is unique. Because of the proximity, fans to the players and fans to the officials, it can be more intimidating. In hockey, you don't hear the fans. Certainly you're not next to them. Same in football, same in baseball. But they did a study years ago on college basketball officiating. People always say the NBA's got bad officials. NBA's got great officials. They're human. They miss calls. And they found in college with younger officials, they were wildly influenced by crowds. Older NBA officials were not. But when you watch the Warriors, you are looking at the loudest, because young people drink more, right? They drink more, they stay up later, sports is a bigger part of their life, they don't have to go home, they're often not married, they don't have kids, and they party all night, and they live for the Warriors, and they're on the message board, and they get there early, and they get lubricated, and that crowd is insane. And I've watched the Nuggets now in back-to-back games completely unravel, 418 straight sellouts. And this is a memo to all you billionaires who want to build fancy new stadiums. You better create seating for young people. Now, in San Francisco and Oakland, it doesn't matter because young people make a ton of money. Same in New York. Madison Square Garden, if you've ever been to a basketball game at Madison Square, I've been in 30 basketball arenas. I've not been in the new Oracle. Madison Square Garden is just louder. It's all those Wall Street kids making money. They don't have to be home at night. They can sleep on their buddy's couch. They don't care. Sports is their life. But when you build these new stadiums, please, please, please keep in mind seating for young people, because it is an advantage for the Warriors. It is a clear advantage. That fan base is nuts. It's too bad Jim Dolan owns the Knicks and they can't get their act together, because basketball is better when New York is great. And it's not because I love the uniforms. It's because Madison Square Garden is it's crazy. It is so loud, on top of you, lubricated. And what I watched over the last couple of games in this series, Denver's just not, they don't want that smoke. They got no interest. They are not ready for it. They're not ready for that crowd. They're not ready for that team. And the Warriors feed off it, because their best player is a flashy player, and he gets the crowd. This is not a dull, this is not a team, the bad boys, we play defense. This team's all about shooting threes, flash, speed, up and down the floor, and the crowd, and Steph gets them worked up. It is quite a scene on television, and the Warriors are back. Good luck to the rest of the NBA. So a second story. Utah Jazz could not beat the Mavericks without Luka. So they won 1 or 2 games. The Utah Jazz have always been a really good job. Coaching the Utah Jazz, really good job. With no chance to be a great job. It's like Wisconsin football. It's a really good job. Athletic director's good. Facilities are good. The fans are great. State of Wisconsin's got like 6 Division I players every year that can play. Utah's a good job. But they have to go international and get home runs in the draft because, like the Packers, it's not a free agent place. If you look at the greatest Jazz team of all time, they got Stockton and Malone in back-to-back picks, but one was 13th, one was 16th. They've got to hit home runs. They've got to go international. Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gobert, Joe Ingles. They've got to go international because they don't get free agents. They got to hit home runs in the draft, and they've done it before. But this is why Quinn Snyder is looking at the Lakers. The Jazz do everything right. The fans are amazing. The facility's great. The new owner is super smart. The coach is amazing. But it's hard there. You got to go overseas. You got to get home runs in the draft. You don't get the free agent edge. And I've seen this before. Notre Dame is a great job, but Brian Kelly was right. LSU is a greater job in 2022. Easier to get kids in. There's more players in the geographic footprint. Oklahoma's a great job. USC, when it's on fire, is greater. Why? Because there's 125 Division I players in California. There's 12 a year in Oklahoma. You don't have to beg them to play. You don't have to leave the state to get 90% of your players. The Packers and the Jazz have limitations. Karl Malone was a 85 draft, the 13th pick. Stockton in the 84 draft was the 16th pick. You hit back-to-back home runs, you can be in finals for years and years and years. I grew up with the Seattle Mariners, same thing. We are so geographically isolated in the Pacific Northwest, they fly almost 50,000 miles a year. That's why in the second half, the Mariners always run out of gas. They're on planes too long. But I look at Quinn Snyder, and I see a great coach and a well-run organization and a rabid fan base. And Rudy Gobert's a remarkable defensive player. But one injury to Joe Ingles, or it was Bogdanovic the year before, and they're not a championship team. In fact, they're not even a conference champion. They're not going to get to the Western Conference Finals. As good as Quinn Snyder is, 8th season, no conference finals. It's not because he can't coach. It's not because it's not a good front office. It's not because Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert aren't individually great. But if they have any little injury, they lose a Bogdanovic to a wrist injury, Joe Ingles out, it's over. They don't have excess. They're like LSU football has a 3rd NFL running back in the depth chart. Notre Dame's got a 2nd. That's the difference. Utah, the Jazz, that is a really good job, but it's got a ceiling on it. And I was watching that last night as they sort of unravel, and I think, man, you got to win this series. Luka's not there. You got to win this series. You got your 2 stars. The Jazz have what many would perceive as the better coach, the best defensive player, your stars available. Dallas doesn't have Luka. You got to win the series. I'm not blaming anybody. You got to win it. And that is the frustration. That is why people will leave what appears to be a really good job in college for a great job. Fewer limitations, fewer obstacles, warmer weather, more kids in the geographical footprint. So I really, by the way, there's a ceiling for Canadian teams, right? Chris Bosh, get me out. The taxes, the weather, the geography. Nick Nurse, Toronto's up for the Laker job. Quinn Snyder, Utah, up for the Laker job. You don't have to leave Philadelphia. You don't have to leave the Celtics. You don't have to leave the Heat or the Lakers or the Clippers. You can go to a lot of places. They don't have the obstacles. But as I watched Utah unravel, I thought they have to win the series. Like, this is the same group of guys for years and years. You got the coach. You got the star defensive center. You got Donovan Mitchell. You're missing Ingles. Okay. All right. They're missing Luka. This is the kind of loss where a Quinn Snyder goes, all right, I've done everything I can. But it's just a good job. A very good job. But it can't be a great job. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.